so I don't know if you can see in there. So okay, so here is the harness that I made. As you can see, I have the thick heat shrinks with the glue in them. I used one over the top and then another one over that one so that it doesn't wear through. But what I want you to see is it goes through here and it goes through there, and then it's going to come through there, and this cavity right here is where wiring harness will pass through to here and meet up with these guys here. It's either the plugs will be on this side or the plugs will be on this side. Some will maybe be on this side, some will be on that side, but that's the first one. Don't worry about all this stuff. That's the PDC side. So first I'm just doing the harness on the PCM ECU to the engine. Then I'll work from the ECU to the PDC or to the fuse box and to the cab. And then all this extra wires that I know I don't need for sure, I'm gonna cut out, shorten them up. This is MDS and the rare O2s, I'm not using them. So I'm just gonna leave those little things stuck there. Yeah, so that's kind of it. And then I'll show you how. All I'm doing is I took a rope, measured it from here, took it all the way through there, and that's how I measured my distance. So wherever it was cut off at, like here, I used that rope as a reference of how far do I need to go. Measure the rope from here all the way to there, and then wherever the rope is ended is I just added it on as necessary. Yeah, so there we go. Now I got this one to do and this one to do. This is the biggest one because it has most of these injectors and stuff. So these are the wires I'm not using, like the evap, rear or O2s, and then the runner adjustment in the intake, some other things. But anyway, so here's my 12 volt positive to ECU. There is my grounds. Here's my ASD. Here's my run start run start ignition. So all the blue is my, let me see, is my ignition. So here's all my ignition. Here's all my fuel. So this fuel plug will have a 14 gauge on it so I can run my ASD through it. This one, I just went to the junkyard and grabbed a bunch of them a long time ago. This one will not have a 14 gauge to run what you call it through. And so when you see these here, how they're twisted, I didn't just twist them any old regular way. Let me see if I can get something. I'll show you real quick. A couple pieces. So if I take right here, if you look, alright, so we have these two here, and what I did, I just didn't want connectors when they cost money, and just stripped the two ends, about a little over an inch maybe, but I make sure that they're about the same, because what I'm going to do requires them to be about the same. So what you're going to do is you kind of spread them out just a little bit, and then you bring them through each other like that. Then you make these bottom pieces here, make sure they're even, okay? Kind of just gather it up. Gather it up. So you want the same distance here, same distance here. You're going to pinch it right in the middle. You're going to have one finger go back. So I'm going to twist them. So you're twisting the whole wire, not just the ends. The whole wire is twisting. So what it's doing is it's wedging those in there. And you just keep twisting until all that disappears. And that is not going to go anywhere. And then so what I do, as you see here, you have let's see. So you have a heat shrink that's underneath with the glue. It's the dual wall. So it's a thicker one with glue. And that's one on the bottom, and then I take a wider one that's shorter, and that glues. And the reason why I take the shorter one is because cars have vibration, you don't want the rubbing, and then you just don't want this to wear through or have any signal loss through here. So that's what I'm doing. So if you look at here, I haven't heat shrunk these ones yet, but you got this one here. Okay, so this one here, I haven't done this one yet. Then you have this one, will go over the top. And there you go. First we glue this one lightly, shrink it lightly, not fully, and then this one will go over it. And you shrink them both. And that'll add protection here. And then you just, if they kind of come a little apart from rubbing on each other, just retwist them and they'll be fine. But it's strong. See, look. That took a lot of force for me to have to do that. And you're not gonna, you're not gonna be hanging anything heavy from it or pulling on it. But that took a lot of force for me to do it. A butt crimp thing would have done the same thing. So I'm happy with that. And then two is, one wire isn't going to have the full force of the tug. So I'm not too worried about it. Because when you use butt connectors, it just gets so bulky. More bulky than kind of what it is now. But, Anyway, so this is the one side, right? Kept all my labels here. So I just got to write them down. So if I need to do work on my fuel injectors testings, separate plug, boom, here you go. I don't know why I wanted it. It seemed like to me a good idea. But I didn't have to tear the whole wiring harness apart and remake another one. But I just wanted it to be smaller, take out all the extra wires. So yeah, and I'm just using this weight in the order of the pins so that I can simulate some of the length. I did measure the length with this rope, with the rope here, so I know how long it is to get to the yeah. So what I'll do is I'll put the connector side, I'll put the PCM side connectors all together, and then what I'll do is I'll go to the truck, I'll take the engine side harness out, connect them to the end, right, and then I still have to, let me come over here, let me show you something here. And then So here is, so we have two different 5-volt references, okay? So one's a yellow pink and one's a pink yellow, right? So these little tags on there, they get tangled up. So one is a pink yellow, and I put the pin number on which one it goes. So like, let's say for instance, here's my accelerator pedal position, accelerating pedal position sensor wiring. Okay, so here's the signals: signal 1 return, signal 1 in. Same thing with 2, and then it also carries 2 power supplies. So 2 5-volt references from 2 different parts of the ECU or PCM, whatever. So I'll run what do you call it? A bridge off of this. It's not a bridge, a branch off of each one of these in through there, into that connector, and then some of the other sensor, like the map sensor needs a 5-volt. I think the crank sensor needs a 5-volt. Can't remember them all. And then here is sensor ground. So I'll ground all the sensors that need grounding. So what I'll do is on PCM side of the connector is when I'll make all my branches. And then when it comes out of the connector that goes towards the engine, on the engine side of the connectors, it'll just be that one wire going through that bunch. So, and then here's my CAN bus. I have a two clip CAN bus one. Yeah, you can go through the junkyard and get them, reroute them, save you money, because you know connectors are pretty expensive. Oh, reminding me of expensive. These aren't really expensive. They're $6, but it's a one wire pigtail. So this will be for the ASD that goes to that'll go to the ignition, because that connector doesn't have a 14 gauge or 12 gauge connector. So I'll just run this next side to it. It'd be fine. Also too, I got more of these for the 12 volt constant that goes to 12 volt to the ECU PCM. It goes from the ECU to my PDC where the fuse box is, engine bay. So I'll have a 1-pin connector there, so I can disconnect when I need to disconnect everything. I'll have a 1-pin connector for the ASD that goes from the PDC, that fuse box, to the PCM. There'll be a 1-pin connector there too. And then I have the run start wire. Where's that at? I lost it. Somewhere here. Oh, it's over there. So that run start wire, I don't know yet. That one I haven't figured out how I'll route that. I don't want to do a 1-pin one on that, but we'll see. Everything needs to be able to disconnect. Is my point is I need everything to disconnect. So if I need to work on the wiring harness, I need to be able to disconnect it, because I'm running it through the fender, and it's not like you can do things very good through the fender. So yeah, that is what I'm doing. I could bundle it all into one and get one huge connector. I could, but those are expensive, and I went to the junkyard. So anyway, I'll let you guys know. I'll show you guys when it's all the connectors are connected, engine side and PCM side. Show you guys what it looks like, and then it'll just have to test it and then make it look pretty. All right, so you see here, here's all the engine things. I'm using the weight to kind of hold it. This goes to the PDC, 5-volt Keon, 88 ASD, the alternator, and the accessories will run through this side here. So here's it all. Boom. So it looks kind of like it's all. These are all shared off one 5-volt supply. Shared off another 5-volt supply. So anyway, so this connector I haven't got done, but these 4 I have. So I got the engine side done. So let's say this is all the air controls and readings. Let's see. Here it goes. So it'll clip on. I'm not going to clip it all the way. And then here's map sensor, TPS, throttle body. And then here is the IAT, intake temperature. And then that's what it runs. And yeah, I might fix these wires. I don't know, it's bugging me. I didn't do it right. Yeah, and then so we'll disconnect. I've already ran a continuity test from the ECU pins to out to the pin to the connectors that actually go to the sensors. All continuity is working good. So yeah, and here's the ignition coil 1. Here's the injectors, the fuel, ASD. Yeah, so tomorrow I got to run all the timing stuff, knock sensors, crank, cam, stuff like that. The VVT, and then this is throttle pedal. And then this will be my O2s. So I got to run this. And then, oh, this is my CAN bus one. And then I'll run a different branch off that goes to the PDC. So then I'll connect all the ASD 12 volts running through everything. And then grounds. Yeah. So there we go. So all that stuff will be done tomorrow. And then once I can verify it all works on the car, then I'll dress it up. Make it look fancy. So, okay. And protect it too, because some of the stuff you're going to have to heat it. Do the heat protection. So see, here's all the others here down here. Okay. So now I got everything, the harness is done. So on the sensor harnesses that go through that go under the intake manifold and on top of the engine block, what I'm doing is putting this heat shield stuff here, which is stuff that I use for the hoses. Had a bunch left over. I should have done that before I connected everything, but I don't know, made my life harder. But anyway, so what I did is this section here to here, so from here to here should be the area of where it goes underneath. So it has the plastic stuff, okay, and it has this on top just so it gives some rigidity, because there's gonna be a lot of vibration there, and I'm not gonna be able to secure it in there because I don't want to take the manifold off. So it'll have, this is thick, that's thick. So, and then at the exit I haven't finished this part yet, taped it up, but then I got this other stuff here that'll come out the back of the manifold through the firewall. And so that's kind of what I'm doing there. And then, like, if you take, got a lot of stuff. So if you take this one's kind of an untaped version. So you see in there, there's the plastic is in there. So yeah, that's what I'm doing there. And then and so I'm just kind of getting it all dressed up, making it look good. The places that need to be heat protected, we'll get this stuff, and that's it. So all right, just to kind of let you know kind of what I'm doing here. I bought a bunch of random stuff a long time ago. So there's different ones. Hopefully it doesn't look bad. Different parts, but you know, anyway, I'll show you when it's all looking nice and done. All right, so for the wiring harness to go through the fender, right, to go through here and into there, I had to trim this hole. So this was a circle hole here, right? And then so what I did is I trimmed it up and squared it off at the top so I can get my connectors through. I mean, you'll have to do this with those with the body connectors. So I took my biggest connector, which is one of these, fit it through the hole, and it fits now. So I can run everything back through here, behind, and through here. So I don't have to run all that mess up here. Let's see. So there's that. What was I gonna say? And so now I'm gonna test fit it coming through here. Oh, and see how like there's hose. I put some vacuum hose around the edges so that it doesn't cut wire. Same thing here. So when the wire is laying on it, it doesn't cut it. I will do the exact same thing there. I'm not sure how I'll dress the wiring through here. I may put some like tubing through there or something, like I don't know, like a bigger coolant hose to run between here to kind of protect it from any weather. But I just don't want this big thing to come over through here and have all this wire right here. So that's what I'm gonna do. And so I just want to explain something. So this looks like a big mess, but what I did, I mean, is the other sections of this video wiring is I separated all parts, right? So here's all the timing stuff, ignition, fuel. So the other day or yesterday, I was testing the fuel injectors because it was in limp mode for some reason, but the oil pressure plug was just enough off, but it looked on, so it wasn't making connection. So, but anyway, so I was testing the plugs, and the little metal pins I put in there were too wide, so it like expanded the plug. And so when I went to hook it up to start it, the cylinders that I was testing, those plugs were messed. I messed up the plug. So hint, don't put too big of a pin in there. It'll stretch out the plug part in there. Anyway, so replace the plugs. But what was so easy is I just took the coil pack. I just took the coil harness, pulled it out, went to my workbench, did it there, put it back. And how I was able to do is unplug it, pull it off, go there. And that's the reason why I did it, because if there's any work that needs to be done, like a clip breaks or something, I don't want to take the whole harness, or maybe it's a clip that's in a really hard place to work with. I don't want to do that. So that's why I kind of did it like this, or even for testing, right? So when I had to test for the signals of everything, right, it's all labeled. Okay, this is my, you know, right here, this is my, what is this? My fuel plug, all for all my fuel injectors, right? And they're all labeled. So I will put better labels on this, but so I just pull my fuel clip, come over here, and I can test it through here instead of having to go through the computer. And that'll show me everything. I can just pull the one plug, you know what I mean? It'd be a lot easier. It's just, for me, it's a lot easier. That's what, it is a little bit more clunkier though. Anyway, just a reminder to that. So there you go. All right, guys. So I took the intake manifold off again, just because I wanted to put some heat shield between the engine and the intake manifold, because the intake manifold is getting really, really hot when I drive it. And then also too is I took this foam right here. That's this piece. I took a piece off the back of the foam that goes underneath the plastic intake manifolds. Anyway, just so it wouldn't rub. And then I'm gonna put this under it. Watch, hold on. See if I can prop you guys up. I don't think I'm going to. Give me a sec. So there's the heat shield, and then the wires will run on that foam piece there, so they don't hit on the engine block and over time wear through. And the 6.1 manifold, the plenum, goes down below this. So hopefully doesn't reach those too bad or touch them. But yeah, so I wanted to create a heat shield under it to just so we don't get heat soaking the air. But this is where I ran all my wires to for the sensors, you know, down there. So on the wiring, how it looks finished. Okay, so if we come over here, we look, let me cover the sun a little bit. Here's the injectors and the ignition coils. And they run all the way back. The engine's a little dusty, so had a lot of wind. But it runs all the way back. O2 sensor comes up, runs through. If you look through here, let me cover the sun so it doesn't get glare. All the sensors, they come up through here. And then if you see inside there, they run underneath intake manifold. Okay, and here's the sensors here. This is the throttle body. This is the intake temp sensor. So what I did is I just covered it with this heat shield here because the temperatures were reading higher than what it was, just because this was getting hot. So I just covered it up to protect it from heat, because that's where all the coolant bypasses right underneath it. So we covered it up. The wiring that goes from this side to this side goes under the stock location of how the wiring did. And everything goes under the battery tray. Here is my alternator cables, battery cables, power supply to the box. These connectors I am going to upgrade. I just don't know what yet. Ignition coils. And then we have, and everything comes back through here. Okay. And if you see this called wire loom, this plastic thick wire loom, the real big diameter, it does go back through there to protect the wiring from any vibration and rubbing. And And so, because everything goes under the brake booster. So when you see here, remember I said that they were going to have separate plugs. Okay, so this one here has, what is this plug? This plug is all the timing stuff. So every, see, VVT signal, knock sensor, signal. So every plug has its own. So when I need to work on it, I just find, I don't know, whatever it is, let's say the coils, see back there, the coils back there, pull that out and I find which coil goes to where, power system, the power and the grounds. And so, and a lot of this is stuff that goes into the cab. Okay, and then when we come to the PCM, you see how it's mounted. Okay, now you can't, so this is what goes into the PDC, which is the fuse box here. So that goes into there, and there's multiple, and there's even, you can even tell some of the wiring down there is labeled. So behind this is that opening, that square opening, and it goes through the fender cavity here. And as you can see, let's see if I can get a good spot here. So, and it goes through there. Okay. And again, I use that thick wire loom. It is big diameter, but it's also thick for any vibration. Okay. All the wiring is wrapped completely with the, what they call the friction tape, which is that fabric tape. Everything is wrapped with that and then covered with whatever sheathing I used. So it's all protected and it's going to stay stable. The only downside to wrapping it all the way from the beginning to the end with tape, it doesn't flex very good. So if you want to do that, maybe get it into the shape that you want, then tape it so you don't have to move it and flex it. It gets a little tough because it gets real stiff. So that would be the only thing I'd do different, was that. And also too is measuring out. If I did it this exact way, I would measure out the wiring a little bit more exact. Some of it was a little long. It's not too big of a deal. It does get a little clunky in there. If I was to redo this in a different way, I may have done a bolt connector right there and ran the PCM inside the cab. So bolt connector is this kind of like, you have like multi-pin connectors where you can put it against like a firewall or some type of flat surface where you plug it in there, and then on the other side is another plug, right? And then that plug goes into wherever you're going to go. So you can attach it to the wall, so it'll just plug there instead of having all this. It would probably save up on a lot of that mess, but maybe that would experiment with something like that with a bulkhead connector. But it works, everything works great as far as electrical. I don't have any electrical problems or anything like that. It works great. I think great position here for it. It keeps it cool. It's ventilated back here. Vibration's low. Looks good. These are the only thing that looks ugly, and they'll change. Oh, these are the 1-aught cables. This is my ground cable to the engine. 1-aught that goes to the starter. This is it. Yeah, so there we go. All looking good. I think it turned out really good. Looks good, looks clean. You guys tell me what you think.